How about it? How about it in week 13? Yo, what's up? You see this steam? Can you see this steam right here by this face? Yeah. Got some coffee. Man, this is normally I can I slept in a little longer because I was out late. Had a little ugly sweater party, having a good time. The ugly sweater's not yet making its way onto the stream. But man, oh man. I mean, goddamn. What's up, people? Happy Sunday. Welcome to week 13. I mean, this day was like bang, 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 bang. I woke up. I prepped everything. I updated the projections, the ownership, the Patreon podcast. I took a shower, and I came out of the shower, and it was 9:13 my time, which meant I had 17 minutes to hit the start button on this stream. And I mean, I had everything prepped. It was just like, I got to get a shower. I didn't even have no coffee. We got to get rolling. So it's been a lovely weekend. We've been productive. We're ready to rock and roll. Gardner Minshew is back in the NFL as a starting quarterback more than likely today. It's a lovely day. I mean, Zach Wilson versus Gardner Minshew is something that a lot of people out there who do not sports bet, who do not have fantasy teams or play DFS, primarily DFS, so you have a stake in it, like a built-in stake. Gardner Minshew versus Zach Wilson today is going to be what dreams are made of for DFS players. $4,000 Gardner Minshew. Miles Sanders, maybe the leverage play, right? I don't know what the hell you're going to find in the Jets, right? Eagles defense, right? It's lovely. It's lovely that we have this game that we like to play called DFS. How y'all doing? I see all the people saying fellas. I see the people saying Minshew in all caps. Look, I'm not going to be hated this week. This week is the most different week of the entire year. I am going to have a awful looking lineup. When you look up Sally Boy 96 in single entries, that lineup, the one that I'm on currently right now, which again, there's still like 2 hours till lock, 2.5 hours, so I might change it. Tinker, hopefully not. Late news if we get some, sure. That lineup is going to look terrible. Lineups in general this week are going to project for like 150 points, and when you start to put a ceiling outcome on them, you start to get a lot of quarterbacks that are named Tua, Derek Carr, when you hit these ceiling outcomes of your lineups. So welcome in, everybody. Hopefully you're having a lovely week. I see people in here said, thought you were traveling. I was traveling Friday into Saturday. Yes, Friday into Saturday for a comedy show near Houston in Sugar Land. Rocking the powder blue, baby. Yeah, I got this powder blue the other day. I think this one was free. I bought 4 shirts at the store where I like to shop at, long sleeves, because, it's getting a little bit chilly here in Texas. Only 75 degrees today. Oof. So it's getting a little chillier, honestly. Feels cold. But, yeah, I got 4. They only rang up 3. I kept my mouth shut, right? Personal ethics are to keep my mouth shut when they don't ring up a $30 shirt or whatever it is. We love it. We have the beautiful Egghead as the picture. Egghead, I don't know what that means. Sunday Schmackin', how you doing? Minshew doesn't look too bad as a play to get some big boys in your lineup. I agree. I think Gardner Minshew is in play this week. You don't see him on the stream right now because he's not fitting on the screen, but let's make that change. I think Gardner Minshew is in play. If you're playing the Millie Maker today, I'm not playing Gardner Minshew. There is a specific tournament where I'm playing Gardner Minshew. Cash game, sure, but what the fuck is that? If you're playing in small field, single entry, and 3 maxes today, or just small fields in general, it doesn't have to be a single entry. It could be like a 9 max, whatever it might be, if it's a weird tournament, on an orthodox tournament. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind Gardner Minshew is in play. Gardner Minshew is facing the Jets. He has a nice team total that did not move anything crazy with Jalen Hurts being out for obvious reasons, because Jalen Hurts does not move the number because Jalen Hurts is not a valuable quarterback in the NFL, according to Vegas and according to many people. So when Gardner Minshew stepping in today at $4,000 flat, I am not playing Gardner Minshew for the correlation. No. That means, yes, you can run Gardner Minshew completely naked. What does that mean for people that do not know? No, it does not mean take his clothes off with your eyes, although if that's your type of thing, go for it. The man's got a nasty mustache in a good way and a mullet, right? So if Gardner Minshew is your type of quarterback that you want to play today, I'm personally playing him in small fields if I want to play him, if I decide to play him, and I am playing Gardner Minshew for no correlation. I'm playing him because of his price tag. I don't want to play him and stack him with Devonta Smith and think that he's going to start throwing dimes. I think he'll probably throw better than Jalen Hurts, right? But not dimes. I'm not trying to play him with Dallas Goedert when there's other priority tight ends I want to get to. I'm playing Gardner Minshew more than likely naked this week, and that is something that I have not really done with any quarterback so far this year, even on smaller Thanksgiving slates. So this is a very interesting week. Yes, the Rams and Matthew Stafford, as always, look great. My mother is in the chat. Hello, my mother. How you doing? Are you locking Sony Michel into all of your lineups? I currently have Sony Michel in 45% of my lineups. I'm not playing in small fields. I'll play Sony Michel with Stafford in small fields, like 500 people or less. In 150s, though, I'm not going to put him in there, so I'm still going to get Stafford sacks, which means I'm not going to have 100%. Fresh Cut South, take a DFS break, but I'm back. What's going on, JV? How you doing, boss man? 75, that's a heat wave. Yeah. I actually have to put the AC on. I actually have to put the AC on from where I'm at in front of these lights, and I forgot to put the AC back on. Alrighty. Lock in Minshew 100%. I don't know about 100%. What's up, mama? Waddle or Pittman today? I'll lean Pittman. Yeah, Devontae Parker being back definitely means that Waddle is overpriced for what his role has been and what it will now be. Tom Brady or Tua? So I have more Tua in 150s. If you're going to play a single entry, I'd lean Brady. But yeah, it's tough to get to Brady today. The stacks always will look good if he hits his ceiling outcome of throwing for 4 or 5 touchdowns, which could have easily happened last week if they decided to throw more in the red zone and not run in 4 touchdowns, right? But it's tough to get the Brady and see the upside outside of that because of his price point, all of his stacking's price points. Brady or Gronk's price point is now up. The game environment in general is not great. There's nothing on Atlanta that I really want to play. Favorite SuperDraft quarterback? Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to get to Gardner Minshew today. I mean, Gardner Minshew is the best option on SuperDraft today. It's as almost simple as that. Do you just play Michelle and Williams with Brady stacks? I don't think so. I don't think Williams is as good of a play as people think. I have Jamal Williams projected out well, but we're trying to think about what goes wrong here. Look, my lineup is going to be terrible this week. Like on paper, it is not going to look good projection-wise. I'm fine with that. I'm trying to find the leverages. This week is all over the place. You are trusting people like Sony Michel, Jamal Williams, Devontae Parker, Gardner Minshew. Like that's who people are trusting this week. Shit is going to hit the fan, right? James O'Shaughnessy, Foster. I know people don't want me to say me. Moreau, Foster Moreau. I know what his name is. It's an inside joke for the people that don't know. Foster Moreau, right? The channel, if everybody knows, right? So I'm playing this extremely crazy, right? I'm still going to have some 20% owned guys. It's hard not to, right? I'm not going to just burn my money on fire. I'm trying to win. I'm doing this strategically. But we talked about some leverage plays this week. Jamar Chase. If you saw my tweet recently, DK Metcalf is 4% owned. Oh, but Sal, DK Metcalf stinks. He hasn't done anything. He had 1 target. Okay. Yeah, that's why he's 4% owned. DK Metcalf, who is a stud receiver, potentially a top 5 receiver in the NFL, his quarterback in Russell Wilson just finally looked good in a game last week, and now they're saying they need to prioritize DK Metcalf. When was the last time we heard that this year? Oh yeah, Robert Woods, who then saw 15 targets, right? Obviously different teams, a small hand-picked sample there, but you get it. So there's loads of leverage spots today, right? When you're looking at Jamal Williams at 22% owned and Miles Sanders at 4% owned today, when Miles Sanders has the better matchup, is a touchdown favorite, a better team total, and now has a quarterback who might check him down the ball, I'm just shrugging my shoulders. Jamal Williams projects out good. He's a quality play. But when you're talking about GPPs and he's 22% owned and the rest of your lineup is highly owned, you got to start finding leverage plays somewhere. Play Jamal Williams. Get different somewhere else. Total lineup ownership. Leverage. That's what matters. I'm just scratching my head here looking at the ownerships on some of these guys. Antonio Gibson is 22% owned for me. Miles Sanders is 5% owned. And Antonio Gibson's projected out for 1 more point. I'm scratching my head. Like, did people not see the news that Wendell Smallwood is activated to the active roster, a pass-catching running back who is going to play the J.D. McKissic role? I'm not expecting much change for Antonio Gibson, who plays in a slow-paced offense, right? Robert Edwards says, not to give away your ownership projections, but do you think Miles Sanders' ownership will get to a level where he's not a good GPP play? No, not at all. Not at all. How could it? Jamal Williams has been a good play all week long projection-wise. He's going to stay highly owned. Now Antonio Gibson, who everybody wanted to love before the season started, who struggled all year, finally is going to have his moment, even though I don't think too much changes. He could have a good game, score some touchdowns, but I don't think his role changes too much. He is now going to be more highly owned. Sony Michel is going to take up all the bottom-end ownership. Miles Sanders will not be owned today. Right? People are going to focus on that game specifically. Now the question is, do you play Gardner Minshew? And nobody's going to play Gardner Minshew with Miles Sanders. In small fields, I think you can. Other than that, you're really hoping for a specific outcome. Miles Sanders will not be owned. Miles Sanders is a very good play. A very good play in GPPs. Very good play. Right? Best matchup you could have for a running back. Behind an offensive line. Dude was averaging 7 yards per carry last week. True yards per carry of 7.1 if you don't like yards per carry, right? So yeah, there's great plays this week everywhere. I love this slate. Take on the chaos this slate, right? Take on the chaos. The Matthew Stafford stacks, and we'll pull them up. The Matthew Stafford stacks are the best stack if you just want to play it basic, right? But if you want to really embrace chaos, you can do it in so many ways with so many good players. You can get George Kittle, Miles Sanders, DK Metcalf, Jamar Chase. All these players, to an extent, Austin Eckler. All these amazing players, good football players at low ownership. You can do that this week. You can play a really good lineup at low ownership that just doesn't project out as much. It projects for, Jamar Chase is only projecting for 17 instead of Keenan Allen's 19 points, right? It's not that crazy. Sal, do you still have your picks on Patreon? So I don't give out any picks. I never have. On Patreon, you have a specific set of tools, and you can buy them depending on what tier you want to sign up for. I'll put it into the chat. Everything that is offered is listed out on Patreon. Projections, ownership, rankings, my Sunday morning podcast going through my exposures and my thought process, the optimizer, the Discord, a bunch of other shit. Yeah. What looks like a better play? Paying up for receivers or running backs? A lot of games it's hard to pay up for receivers, right? There's not many to pay up for. I mean, you have Cooper Kupp, you have Jefferson, and then there's nobody to pay up for. Like, there's $7,000 receivers. Paying up for running backs is going to give you more leverage. Which ones? Not Jonathan Taylor. He's a good play. So let's get this out of the way. All the dudes who you think are good plays with high ownership are good plays. It matters for your total lineup ownership. Joe Mixon for the third week in a row is going to be relatively low owned. Austin Eckler is going to be like 8% owned today. Najee Harris, the NFL leader in running back snap share and running back opportunity share. I don't really like him today, but he's going to be 5% owned, if not lower. So if you're looking to get leverage, paying up for running backs is the way. If you're looking just to put your first player into your lineup, should you start up top with Jonathan Taylor or start up top with Cooper Kupp? I currently have, as it remains right now, 73% Cooper Kupp in 150s. Cooper Kupp will be in my single entry lineup as of right now. Cooper Kupp is the best play on the slate. It is not even close. If you're talking about who is the best play on the slate today for putting one player into your lineup before ownership comes into account, it is Cooper Kupp. It is simple as that. There is no clear-cut quarterbacks. I think that you can pay down for Gardner Minshew. I think that there's interesting options like Derek Carr and Tua this week, depending on your lineup construction. Obviously, Brady, Herbert, and Stafford, they look good. That's kind of quarterback in a nutshell this week. But when you go to running backs, every range. There's fucking 30 running backs in play today, depending on how you want your lineup to go through. I think that the best overall play on the slate today is Cooper Kupp. That shouldn't shock anybody. He is dirt cheap at $9,000. Yes, that is right. Dirt cheap at $9,000. I have him as about a $10,400 player based on my projection for him this week. So yeah, I'll take that leverage. I agree about Sanders, but the Eagles are so unpredictable. Watch game, we'll get 3 touchdowns. Sure, yeah, that can definitely happen. Yep. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about the Eagles getting 3 touchdowns. You're going to probably lose today. Like, specifically to the person who asked that question, me as well. You're going to probably lose today. Odds are you lose. 80% of people who play in DFS tournaments do not win. So odds are that you lose today. You might as well go down swinging with a guy who has similar upside to, if not more upside, to the 22% Jamal Williams. You might as well go down swinging with the younger, more athletic, better matchup, better offensive line, favorite in Miles Sanders. That's just what I'm saying today. Or Sony Michel or whoever's going to be the leverage play. Right? That's all I'm saying is we're going to all probably lose anyway today. 80% of us are going to lose, right? 80% of people watching this are going to lose. That's just what DFS is. 80% of people lose. They don't place in the contest. It's a simple math. 20% of people win, right? That's why DraftKings is so profitable. Although I saw something going on with DraftKings. I don't bet on individual stocks, so I don't know what happened to DraftKings. I don't know why their stock is tanking. I don't know if they didn't hit earnings or something. I have no idea if somebody wants to share insight on that without getting too in-depth in the weeds. But yeah, you might as well go down swinging with the guy who, if he does hit, will pop off for you. Because if Jamal Williams hits, you're not popping off. Jamal Williams is not the reason you're winning your GPPs today. Miles Sanders can be the reason, right? That's just all I'm trying to say. It is very difficult to tap the player who every single one of your favorite content providers this week, and Jamal Williams, every single one of them is saying, great play, yeah, good matchup, all that, great opportunity share. It's very difficult to go away from that to the guy who everybody was saying, Miles Sanders burned me last week. I'm not going back to him, right? It's difficult mentally. But when you start to look through this with the tools, hopefully you have Patreon, you can see it. It makes it a lot easier. Go out with a bang. Connor or Mitchell if you already have Kittle. Yeah, so if I already have Kittle, it'll be Connor, but that might be the most difficult question on the day for me specifically. The lineups that I'm building, I'm landing in this range of if I want to play Elijah Mitchell or James Conner. It's a big shrug emoji for me. Kyler Murray being back helps James Conner in some respects to get more red zone opportunities, but Kyler steals red zone rushing touchdowns, right? And that's kind of Connor's thing at this point. Elijah Mitchell is going to have a more difficult matchup this week, but we know they're going to run the ball 25 times. There's no Debo. There's no Trey Sermon out there. They don't like Jeff Wilson. So that is a very difficult question. I have James Conner projecting out for more points, but that's kind of baking in a higher touchdown upside, which is somewhat of a random variable. So yeah, it's kind of difficult for me. I'll pull up the running back page. Somebody was asking about it. Here's the running back page for me. You're not seeing Sony Michel on this. He's right there. But yeah. Why haven't you mentioned Mike Glennon considering how much you've talked about Minshew? Yeah, I just have Minshew projected for more. So Glennon and Minshew, both $4,000. I have Glennshew. Wow. How about that? Glennshew. The combination of Mike Glennon and Gardner Minshew. A man with the longest neck you will ever see and a fucking mullet. How about that? But yeah, Gardner Minshew, more mobile upside. He fits into his offense a little bit more. He has a better offensive line. He has a better team total. A way better matchup. This is going to be kind of what all goes into this projection. But then, as opposite for Mike Glennon, I mean, Mike Glennon has never been anything of a mobile predator. He is behind a terrible offensive line that is not going to give him any time to throw against a actually ascending secondary this year. Miami secondary started the first 2 to 3 weeks of the year bad. The last 5 weeks, they've really connected, right? The defense in general, and that's why they continue to win and push for the playoffs. So Mike Glennon versus Gardner Minshew, yeah, it's a better projection on Minshew. It's a better ceiling on Minshew. Yeah, and definitely a better SuperDraft play. $5 super chat. He says, my man Kevin Davis says, who's the bring back in Tua skinny stacks? The bring back in your Tua skinny stack bringbacks today. Saquon or no one. I don't think you have to, it depends on the contest you're playing. If you're playing in a larger field contest, you definitely want to bring it back. If you're playing in a small field 300 to 500 person contest, I don't think you have to bring back Tua stacks, but Saquon would be the bring back. Punt Evan Ingram, although that feels gross with the tight end position this week, how many punt options you have. Thoughts on the Giants and Dolphins players? I think Tua is a good large field GPP play. Like I have Tua in like 15% of my large field tournaments. Like I have him as a yes here, but I'm not playing Tua in my main lineup, right? This is a large field. Tua, the Derek Carrs, they're large field, Millie Maker. I'm not playing a Millie Maker, but those types of contests, right, where you play 150s. I'm not really interested otherwise. I see you like Claypool this week. What about Big Ben to go with him? I like last year with the team narrative. Yeah, I'm not interested in Big Ben. Look, when you have quarterbacks like Gardner Minshew on the slate and Mike Glennon, who are going to be $1,000 less than Big Ben for a similar to better projection, actually I have them both projected better, I'd rather just play Chase Claypool by himself and then run Gardner Minshew naked, right? Like I'd rather just do that at this point. Mike Glennon has a hot wife with that long-ass neck. Man, pause. Sal, my boy, what's going on, boss man? Cousins or Allen? Josh Allen every week. Thanks for the detailed info on that question. I'm stuck too. You're the man. Yeah, no problem. DraftKings stock tanked because the influential guy who takes a lot of short positions said DK spends too much on marketing and its business model is flawed. I mean, that's very true. I don't know the in-depths of the company, but DK spends too much on marketing in terms of, as an outsider in the industry looking in and promoting DraftKings without ever getting, that's a lie. I getting paid very small from like a couple of one-time ads for DraftKings. As an outsider who loves their product, of course, they could have gone about this way better. I mean, DraftKings spends like $2 billion at least last year on marketing, and all they're doing originally, is putting TV commercials on where more and more of the younger population is not on TV and they're on TikTok and they're on YouTube, right? So they're putting TV commercials on. And more recently, they're starting to buy up networks. Ariel Helwani, they're partnered with, right? His show for MMA. And they're starting to buy up more and more networks. And they're getting people like me to just promote them for free so they don't have to give me any money. I understand why that happens. But why not just create your own podcast network? FanDuel started to do it. It makes sense. Underdog is doing it, right, with a couple of their shows. Why not create your own podcast network and not pay $50 million to license a show from Dan Le Batard for like 3 years, when you can just pay $1 million a year to some of the best content creators out there to be your main show? It doesn't make sense. I know they're paying for the influence of Dan Le Batard's number 2 rated Apple podcast show. I get that. But there's something else that can be done there that doesn't cost $2 billion. Any Rodgers tonight? Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is on a bye week, but of course, if you are a Patreon member, you do indeed get to use any of Aaron Rodgers' performances. I would probably use that Minnesota performance, but any of Aaron Rodgers' performances from this year, you do indeed get to use in your Showdown Captain tonight if you want to. If you're a Patreon member, this is a total lie. We're not true here, but if you wanted to, if you're a Patreon member, that's a bonus perk that we've worked out with some of these DFS sites. Do you believe in Jack Doyle? I do not. No. Big hey, all right, cool. You like Russell Wilson today? Not really. I like DK Metcalf today, or Lockett, whichever one you like a little bit more. I like Metcalf for the squeaky wheel narrative, the fact that nobody's going to own him. You're going to get in large field, sharp tournaments with like good fantasy players today. Like I'm playing in the 555. I'm not playing in the $4,444 because I just think that that's a poor investment. I'm not yet to the point where I can just say, yeah, $4,500, I'll blow that. Maybe one day I will be, and hopefully I can donate it to charity instead of putting it into a DFS contest. But I'm playing in the 555, like the 150 today. I think those are solid contests. And in those contests, like good players, good DFS players are not going to play DK Metcalf. There's no way people are playing DK Metcalf today. The better pivot in that range for a low-owned play is Jamar Chase, and I agree with that. Why not both if you're trying to get really contrarian, right? That might be too contrarian, but look, Metcalf is solid. He had one bad game in prime time while Russell Wilson started to look better. Completed 70% true completion percentage of his passes, not actual. That's taking away bad down passes and throwaways, right? So, yeah, I think that Metcalf at like a 2 or 3% owned is yet again another guy on a list today of guys who are going to look really solid. $10 super chat. What do you think about Minshew's ownership will be in the luxury box single entry, and can you run him with Miles Sanders? You can definitely run him with Miles Sanders in a single entry luxury box. Is that a small field? I'm not playing the luxury box today. Unless that $4,000 contest is, I'm not even playing that. But I didn't see the luxury box this morning unless it filled already. But I would assume that Minshew's ownership in the luxury box is somewhere between like 5 and 10%, 7-8% we could say. It depends how small the contest is. If the luxury box is like 200 people this week, I could see his ownership hitting 10%. Sal, very curious. Why do you have Tom Brady as a maybe? Good question. Yeah, I love Tom Brady almost every week. I think if you're playing in double stack. If you're trying to double stack Tom Brady this week, it's really difficult because of how expensive Brady is and his stacking options are. Like, there's no Antonio Brown still. Both of his receivers are expensive. They're playing 2 high safeties against them, and it's really limiting the upside. Tom Brady gets there from having these 4 or 5 touchdown games at this point, right? And it could have happened last week. It could happen this week, but I'm kind of betting against that. I'm not getting as much Tom Brady. This is based on my exposures. I'm not getting as much Tom Brady. I'm kind of definitely on the hook for that. It's concerning, but it's just the price point of his stacks. Gronk is more expensive now. When Gronk is your cheapest stacking option as a tight end, it starts to become difficult. And, when the opposite side of this game for Atlanta has no good run backs, I don't want it. I'm sorry. I know Cordell Patterson went off last week. I'm not playing a $7,000 Cordell Patterson at 15% ownership or 10% ownership even. I don't want Russell Gage. I don't want Kyle Pitts. So there's really no run backs. I'm kind of stuck sitting here with, like, do I want to play Brady, Godwin, who's highly owned, and Gronk stacks, Gronk, who's highly owned. So these Tampa Bay stacks are highly owned with no real run backs, and they're expensive. So it just becomes a situation to where, why would I not just go to Matthew Stafford, who's lower owned, who has cheaper pass catchers in terms of Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee, and Odell if you wanted to finish out some stacks, and also a more secure pass catcher in Cooper Kupp. Like, there's no secure pass catchers in that. Any single week can be the week for a different receiver in Tampa Bay's offense. So when that's kind of me explaining what the optimizer is seeing when it's trying to build out the lineups. And that's even with randomness on. So yeah, Ayuk today, a good play. He's a solid play. I just prefer other leverage plays. Who did you mention will take the J.D. McKissic snaps? Wendell Smallwood, the former Philadelphia Eagle, is promoted to the active roster, and the head coach said he will take on the J.D. McKissic role. Thoughts on Saquon today? I think I have like 10 or 12%. I have a good projection on Saquon, like an 18-point projection. More checkdowns maybe from Mike Glennon. I mean, you might see a Saquon 8-catch game. I think Saquon's fine. I think he has ownership coming in on him. I have Saquon Barkley today for like 10, 12% ownership. So, I mean, I think he's a fine play. There's a big question today of, do you play James Conner, Saquon, or Elijah Mitchell? And there's positives to all those dudes. Saquon is obviously the most athletic. Elijah Mitchell is obviously the most secure for touches, in my opinion. And then there's Conner there, who's kind of a little bit of both to an extent, and gets his quarterback back. That's a really difficult decision. That range at running back for me today is going to drive me crazy for the rest of the day. Like, do you want Elijah Mitchell or Conner primarily? But there's also Saquon in that area. There's Chase Claypool at wide receiver if you're trying to get different at the flex. Would you go Gronk and Kittle in a lineup? I would not. So I've been asked a couple of times, are you going to go double tight ends today? I don't think there's any way that it's viable today. I think Kittle is the best tight end leverage play in the slate. I think Kittle is the best play in the slate, and it's not really that close factoring in his ownership. Gronk is a solid play. The punt tight ends are solid plays. It really comes down to your lineup construction. Getting Kittle in there is going to change your lineup construction completely because he's $3,000 more than those punt tight ends. But I don't want to play double tight end because there's so many value running backs. Devontae Parker opened up. The $4,000 punt quarterbacks opened up. There's so much value on this slate, the punt tight ends themselves, that going double tight end is going to just limit your upside. Like, Kittle is the one tight end that looks really good. Gronk, you're hoping for a repeat performance, if not more, from last week, which the red zone upside can come. But when you're doing that, you're still avoiding the James Conners at similar prices to those tight ends, the Elijah Mitchells, the Saquons. There's just so many value guys in that range, and the overall value that's on the slate to make it easier to get to pay up options. It just becomes really difficult to see the upside in double tight ends. Small field contest is like the only spot where it maybe works out. But even then, just give me the Michael Pittmans of the world. Give me the Chase Claypools of the world over the Gronks. Thoughts on Deshaun Jackson and his snap count? I mean, I think Deshaun Jackson will play. He operated as a wide receiver 4 in the last game. It was a high-scoring game, so he's on the field more. I think he's going to take Brian Edwards' job at some point this year. So I think Deshaun Jackson plays, like 55-60% of the snaps. Renfro or Ayuk? Renfro. How much of Minshew do you have? Right now, Minshew in 150s, I think I have like 5%. So I have like 5% Minshew in 150s. Minshew is mainly a yes because he's a, in my opinion, a strong consideration for a single entry lineup depending on what you're doing today. Like if you're punting tight end today, you probably don't got to play Gardner Minshew. You can though, and then you get even more value. But you probably have enough value if you're punting tight end. You're playing one of these cheap running backs, assuming you're not paying up a defense. But Minshew, I have Minshew on here as a yes, not because I'm getting a ton of him in 150s. I have 5% of him because I think he's a legitimate play to consider in your single entry, your main lineup today. Definitely for cash. I don't play cash, but definitely for cash. But I think it's something you have to keep in mind. What are your thoughts on Elijah Moore? Yeah, Elijah Moore, another leverage play. I have like 2%. He's just, you can't get to all these leverage plays. And I'll stick to the ones that don't have a 19 implied team total with Zach Wilson. So I'll stick to some of the other leverage plays. Yeah. Kevin Davis donates $20. He says, with all the value today, are you going to try and stuff Kupp and Taylor in the same lineups? You can. I'm not doing that right now. I'm prioritizing Kupp. Thank you for the $20 super chat, by the way, Kevin. You're a boss here. I appreciate you a ton. Thank you so much. I'm going to get myself a brewski with them dollar brewskis today. How about that? Appreciate that. And Yeah, so the question is a fair one. Yeah, I think you can go Jonathan Taylor and Kupp, but I guess I'll ask you this. Jonathan Taylor and Kupp are going to be two of like the highest 5 owned guys in the slate. Like Kupp will be 20%, Jonathan Taylor will be 20 to 25%. So in my opinion, if you're doing that, you're probably playing the chalk value. So now you're building a lineup that basically everybody's going to fucking build, right? They're going to build Sony Michel, Jamal Williams. I guess you can, Sony Michel, Jamal Williams, Jonathan Taylor, Kupp. There's your lineup. And now with the money you have left over, you probably have to punt tight end. You probably got to play a cheap defense, right? This is I'm naming a lot of people's lineups right now because everybody can see that route. So in my opinion, what I would do, I would prioritize Kupp personally. Most of the time you want to prioritize the running back because they get more secure touches. So prioritize whichever one you want. I'm going to prioritize Kupp because there's no other pay-up wide receivers, like somewhat Jefferson, but not really. There's no Adams on the slate. Debo's hurt. So I'm going to prioritize Kupp. And, I mean, on his own team, obviously, insane target share. And then for running back, there's so many other options that's where I can get different. So if you just go from Jonathan Taylor to Eckler or Mixon, who are a little bit cheaper, you're going to get a 24% owned Jonathan Taylor to turn into an 8% owned Austin Eckler, a third of the ownership. And you're going to have similar upside, right? I'm sorry. Austin Eckler provides similar ceiling potential to Jonathan Taylor. But Jonathan Taylor scored 5 touchdowns. Yeah, and then Austin Eckler scored 4 that night, right? Obviously, those are both massive outliers. But Austin Eckler is as much involved in his offense as Jonathan Taylor is, right? I know from not a pure yardage standpoint based on how much Indy runs, but just in terms of how many routes he's running, the targets he's seeing, right? The 20 opportunities per game that he is seeing. So if you wanted to pay up for studs at each position, I would personally go Kupp, and I would pivot off of Jonathan Taylor. Unless you want to go Jonathan Taylor and Justin Jefferson, that's another really good build too, because Jefferson will be like 8% owned. So either Jonathan Taylor and Justin Jefferson or Kupp and a Mixon or an Eckler is how I would approach that. I wouldn't play the top 2 dudes because you're just going to have the same lineup as so many other dudes. Is Mixon bring back good for the Chargers? Yes. Hey, Sal, it's Laz Gets Fits. What do you think about Philly pass catchers? Where can we get different? Let's get the 5.55s today. Yeah, man, I'm in the 5.55s. Yeah, man, Laz, hopefully you're having a lovely Sunday. Appreciate you, man, being in here, spending your time a couple minutes. That's a good question. This is something that I'm debating. I'm seriously debating playing. This is crazy, but if I play let's say I play about, I think I'm close to like $3,000 right now in my main lineup today. I think I have like $5,000 in entries overall. If I play Gardner Minshew in my main lineup and I have $3,000 riding on Gardner Minshew, that doesn't feel as secure as having it on Matthew Stafford or Tom Brady, right? It doesn't. I'm considering, my man Laz, I'm considering running in those small fields. I think it's like an 800-person tournament. Still kind of big relative to like some of the other ones. But like in those smaller fields, I'm considering running Gardner Minshew naked. I personally am considering running Gardner Minshew naked today. So my thought process in single entry today is Stafford, Herbert, sort of like the discount Stafford, $600 less. Stafford, Herbert, your secure options, or then Tua or Minshew. Minshew opening up kind of threw a wrench into a lot of my stuff. I was looking at a lot of Herbert stuff yesterday into today. So Minshew now, I'm considering just running him naked. I don't want to go to Goddard. I like other tight end plays better. Your main stacking options would be a punting a Rager. You don't know where Minshew is going to hone in on. You would think Devonta Smith, their best option, the best separator out there. Great matchup. So that would be your one spot. Devonta Smith for me at his current price tag, I think is fine. It's kind of this thing of, do I want to stack a Devonta Smith with a Gardner Minshew or run Gardner Minshew naked and just go with like I don't know, DK Metcalf in the area, Chase Claypool for leverage. So that's where my biggest decision. There's 2 big decisions today. $6,000 running backs, that range. Do I want to go Connor, Eli Mitchell, or Saquon? That's a big decision that I'm trying to weigh right now. And kind of where I end up on skinny stacks can probably help that out. And number 2 is, do I run, if I play Gardner Minshew, do I run him naked? Or do I play him with Devonta Smith and don't play Chase Claypool or DK? I think it's a pretty easy decision to play Devonta Smith over Chase Claypool because you get the correlation, and I mean, he might just be a better play in general. The tough question for me starts to become, do I want to go a DK Metcalf at low ownership or Devonta Smith at low ownership when DK's quarterback's clearly better? Things like that. But yeah, Devonta in that matchup is definitely in play. You mentioning that, Laz, is going to probably make me look at Devonta Smith more now in that lineup. Sal, Sunday Night Football question. Do you see Denver playing a 2-high safety tonight against the Chiefs? Yes. Goddard or Gronk? I'll go Gronk with nothing else. Jags tight end, a good punt. $20 super chat from Rick. All the people are throwing in the super chats. I appreciate all the love this Sunday. Hopefully you're having a lovely day. We're into December. Shout out Christmas. Or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever you're doing out there. Jags tight end punt is a good play. Yes, he is. He is a good play. I do indeed enjoy him. Yes. Yes, I enjoy him. I'm trying to get something going right here real quick. Bada bing. Lads, now that you're making me play around with these Devonta Smith lineups, they're actually looking pretty a little sexy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, lads. You got these Devonta Smith lineups looking a little sexy now. Do you like Devontae Parker? Yeah, he's the best $3,000 wide receiver on the slate. Do I think he's viable? Sure. I have him for 12 fantasy points. There's a little bit of volatility because we don't know what his role will be now that Waddle's become a bigger part of this offense. We don't know how the injury is. So, yeah, becomes a little bit more difficult. By the way, if you have not yet already heard, which a lot of people watching this have definitely heard already, go get up in there and get on Prize Picks. Use the code SAL. We're going to plug the sponsor of the show quickly because that is how your boy gets to do what he does here because of all you beautiful people playing on the proud sponsors because they're a lovely time. So yeah, use the code SAL. You get a free bet up to $100 on Prize Picks. We'll take a community prop. I've taken a ton of props. I've been high on Jamar Chase and Cooper Kupp all week long, so they're over receiving yards. I took Eckler's under rushing yards. I don't feel as good about that now, but I think it's fine. Evans under 60.5 receiving. We took a bunch of other props throughout the week. Let's take a community prop today. Do they have any Gardner Minshew props out there? Because what would be, I don't know if they have it yet. Yeah, they probably don't because the news isn't official. But what would be more fun than a Gardner Minshew prop? That being said, though, do we just get exposure to Devonta Smith through fantasy? I mean, you got an 11-point fantasy projection on Miles Sanders. Fellas, ladies and fellas out there, I have Miles Sanders for nearly 16 fucking fantasy points versus the worst run defense in the NFL today. So we are definitely putting Miles Sanders a part of our community prop today. I can tell you that right now. So Miles Sanders over rushing yards, and we'll find another community prop as we go. But use the code SAL. We'll put these together. If somebody else has a sneaky prop that they've seen out there, I actually saw a prop earlier. Elijah Mitchell over 5.5 receiving yards. The problem with this is if Seattle takes the lead and leads early, you'll see 0 targets for Elijah Mitchell, or if San Fran starts to lead early, you'll see 0 targets. Chase or Claypool in SuperDraft? I'll take Chase. Sal, is the Minshew love more about matchup and price? It's way more about price, but matchup definitely helps his projection, right? So it's both, but price is the reason I'm playing him. Elijah Mitchell over 5.5 receiving yards is dangerous because if San Fran does indeed take like a 10-point lead, they're not going to fucking check down to a running back once. I know we've seen these 5-target games, so that's a little bit dangerous. You know what I might do? I want to see George Kittle's fantasy point projection because I think I have a massive projection on Kittle around like 18, 17 points. Oh, yeah. So let's do that instead. So we're going to go over Miles Sanders, two of the best leverage plays. Potentially the best running back leverage, definitely the best tight end leverage play in the slate today. Let's hone in on that. Let's do a fucking power play. Let's hone in on that. Let's put $100 down on this. Oh my goodness, and let's do the community prop right here. Why is this not booking? Where am I? A fucking vacation. Alrighty, so now we got that entered. Bada bing, bada bang. There you go. $100. Miles Sanders over 11 points. Kittle over 12. I have Kittle for 17 points. I have Sanders for almost 16 points. So there you go. Thoughts on David Montgomery? Looks good. I have a lot of David Montgomery today in 150s. He's not really on a list for me in single entry, though, as a massive underdog with not a good team total, but I have 25% David Montgomery in 150. Any Sony Michel love? Yeah, Sony Michel is arguably the best running back play in the slate today. He's on a short list with like Alexander Madison as like best running back plays on the slate. I mean, he's 4,300. He's 4,300 with a 30.5 team implied total. A fucking amazing matchup. And nobody to steal touches from him with Darrell Henderson unlikely to play. Like Jamal Williams, Sony Michel is a much better player than Jamal Williams, but because this news broke like this morning / last night, Sony Michel is going to be, in like sharp contests, like higher stakes, he'll be owned. But in like the Millie Maker, Sony Michel will be like, 12% owned to Jamal Williams, 22%. Like that's just not right. Or maybe Jamal Williams goes down to like 15, 16% now. Do you like J. Will at all? I have Jamal Williams in 150s, but this is the exact play you do not play in your single entry, your main lineup. If you're playing one lineup today, you don't play Jamal Williams. He is one of the highest on running backs as an underdog with a bad team in general, right? And he's 20-something plus % owned. Projection looks good. He himself is a solid play if you're playing a lot of lineups and you can leverage it. But in one lineup, I'm not doing it. What do you think if Henderson is active but limited? Roll versus Michelle? I'm not going to play Michelle if Henderson is limited, but based on all the reports we've been getting, and we just got a report like an hour ago, it doesn't seem like he's playing. What is your ownership projection on Joe Burrow? 4%, I think. I currently have 4% Joe Burrow. I think his ownership projection for the field, I currently have Joe Burrow projecting for 5%. Sal, is Jalen Hurts officially out? It was reported that he was out, and then it was kind of walked back to see how he'll feel in warm-ups, but apparently he has like a fucking swollen ankle, and that's his entire game is being able to run. So I'm projecting him out. We shall see. We shall see what in like a half hour or something like that. Hey, Sal, are you playing Sony with Cup in the same lineup? Please and thank you. I think it's fine to do that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's completely fine to do that. A team with a 30.5 implied total, a wide receiver who has a 37% target share, a running back who is $4,300, so it's not doesn't take much for him to pay off for you, right? 16 points out of Sony Michel is paying off for you, unless he becomes like 35% owned, which he won't. Myles Gaskin or Miles Sanders? Miles Sanders for sure there. I mean, Myles Gaskin just straight up stinks. He's running behind the worst offensive line in football. I mean, he just straight up stinks. Any love for Conklin's? Not really. I mean, if you're playing Minnesota stack, sure, but that's about it. You like O'Shea better than Murray? James O'Shaughnessy I'll take just because of the ownership discount. I think Murray is going to be 15, 16% owned. I know it's Murray, but Murray for this channel. I think he's going to be 15, 16% owned. I think that O'Shaughnessy like 8%. You seeing more double tight end or triple running back in your builds this week? I don't play double tight ends. I'm personally just not going to do it. I think there's very limited upside to that. So I'm not doing double tight ends. So definitely triple RBs because I have 0 double tight end lineups. Do you like Foster Moreau? Yeah, sure. Hurts is officially out. Somebody said, all right, cool. Thank you. Ace, what do we got? How many people are watching the show right now? Do we got people watching the show? 932 people. Hopefully you're having a lovely day so far today. Let's pull up the running backs. If you're watching this right now, we're like 100 away from 45,000 subscribers, which is just a nice whole number. It's something about it, just 0, zeros, put the more zeros, right? Yeah, so if you want to hit the subscribe button, if you're not already, tell your brother to tell your mother, to tell your sister, your aunt, your uncle, right? Is Glennon an option at 4K? I'd rather have Minshew. Yates just tweeted Minshew is starting. Beautiful. So we have security on that. Am I about to put $3,000 on the line for Gardner Minshew today? Ooh, Brett Johnson just asked us if we want any last minute price picks to let him know right now. I definitely do. Brett Johnson is the prize picks lines maker. So I'm gonna say Gardner Minshew. Let's get a Gardner Minshew prop out there. Hey, Sal, wide receiver page. Sal, first time doing classic flex play using running back or wide receiver. Yeah, it depends on the week. It's really up to you. There's so many running backs this week that are solid and good price points everywhere that it's easier to get a running back in the flex, and many people will do that. But I see some very strong lineups either way. Wide receivers have higher ceilings than running backs, but running backs that are cheap with secure touches are some of the best, if not the best, plays in fantasy football for DFS. But I really like some of these wide receivers. So I'll say running back generally speaking, but if you're going to get really different today, wide receiver in the flex is completely fine. Like there's some really massive upside wide receivers that you can get into your lineups. Yeah, for sure. Mixon or Taylor? I'll say, I have more Taylor. He projects out better. Mixon will be half his own, though. So if I'm playing a lineup today, I'm more likely to get Mixon than Taylor personally. Sal, you the GOAT bro, says Slick Rick. Hey, Slick Rick, where's Slick Nick? Where's Slick Rick? Yo, big fella, Sal, what about $3,300 Jack Doyle? No interest there. I don't know how you play Jack Doyle today. I just don't understand. There's 2 punt tight ends. There's Evan Ingram in a similar price range. Like there's no way I play Jack Doyle today. Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf, Deontay Johnson, or Mike Evans, who's the best in that group? I think that not factoring in their quarterbacks, projection-wise, it's Deontay Johnson. The guy that I want to play the most for leverage in GPPs is DK Metcalf. Cup going off today, when doesn't he? Best slate of the year. This is by far the best slate of the year. It's not even close. If you're sitting there and you're looking at this slate saying, I hate this slate. This slate stinks, right? This is the best slate of the year. There is no clear-cut stacking options. I think that the Rams and Tampa and those stacks that always look good continue to look good, but they're expensive to an extent. Like the Rams is the best stack today, right? The Rams is the best stack today. It also is not going to allow you the access to get to some of the top plays today because, Cup's $9,000 and Stafford's $7,000, right? And their run backs aren't the greatest. And Sony Michel opened up. The Rams were leaning, so Justin Herbert was leaning towards being my single entry quarterback. Then this morning I was leaning towards Stafford, and then the Sony Michel news opens up, and I'm like, all right, I want to play Sony Michel. I don't really want to play him with Stafford. And you kind of leverage those Ram stacks. Steve, a $5 super chat. And then Gardner Minshew opened up, and now I'm like, what the fuck? Am I going to put $3,000 on Gardner Minshew today? Mazel tov. Tua and Waddle stack and run it back with Saquon. I think that's fine. Yeah. I think that's fine. I'm not gung-ho about Tua stacks. I have Tua stacks only in my 150 builds. I don't have any Tua stacks in single entry 3 max. I don't think he's a good single entry 3 max play today. He was up until some of this news broke on Minshew. Thoughts on Scott Miller today? I think Scotty Miller runs 5 to 6 routes. He can't be in play for me. Is it Tonya or Tanja? Tonya? $5 super chat says, keep it up. I appreciate that super chat. Thanks for the super chats today. Appreciate that. Dallas Goedert or Mike Gesicki? Goddard for me with Devontae Parker back. Do you like Deontay Johnson today? I do, but I would much prefer to play Chase Claypool or Jamar Chase or Chase Claypool, but that's not the exact same question. I'm just going to take Jamar Chase over Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson has all of... What do you mean you're going to take him over Deontay Johnson? Deontay Johnson sees 12 or 13 targets a week. I'm well aware. But I have right now... Here's my... This is exactly why it's important to have tools. So if you're not a Patreon member yet, one of the 1,000+ members, thriving, flourishing, and having a lovely time with the most in-depth and interesting slate of the year, get up in Patreon, because right now, here's a little sneak peek for you. $7,000 Jamar Chase I have for 17.2 fantasy points and a 7% ownership. $6,800 Deontay Johnson I have for 17.2 fantasy points. Same exact projection. Deontay Johnson is double the ownership. So I'll take Jamar Chase, who I have for a higher ceiling, half the ownership, and the same median projection all day long over Deontay Johnson. That's never going to seem obvious to the person just looking at the box scores, though. Jamar Chase only had 3 targets last week to Deontay Johnson's like 14. Yes. Yeah. This is all factored in, right? Knox or Foster Moreu? Knox for me. I mean, you talking about season long? Knox. If you're talking about like an all-day DFS slate, I assume you're going to have Moreu cheaper. What are we stacking with Minshew today, or is he a candidate to run naked? He is definitely a candidate to run naked at $4,000, yes. At that price point, all I'm really hoping for is his value to get me like 20 fantasy points. On the ground for 40 yards, a rushing touchdown, 200 yards passing, a couple touchdowns or one. If I'm stacking Gardner Minshew today, the only way I'm doing it is with Devonta Smith. $6,100 Devonta Smith, great matchup against the Jets. The problem with the whole stacking for high correlation with Gardner Minshew is, you know they want to run the ball, right? He's filling in for Jalen Hurts, who's been throwing the ball 20 to 24 times a game. So you're hoping that Gardner Minshew fills in for Jalen Hurts as well for like 50 or 60 rushing yards and a rushing score, right? Because you know they want to run the ball. Boston Scott has been dealing with illness, but he's active. Miles Sanders is active. He's healthy. So you know they want to run the ball, which makes it more difficult to go to the Devonta Smith stacks, which, yes, they offer you the correlation upside, but at $6,100, is Devonta Smith a better play than James Conner and Elijah Moore and Saquon Barkley, who across the position at running back are the exact same price range, if not cheaper in James Conner's case, to a Devonta Smith and Elijah Mitchell's case. So that just a very couple difficult questions today that I think we can work through together here. You know they want to run the ball. You know they're probably not going to get down. Their favorite's big on the Jets. So Gardner Minshew as a backup quarterback who they're just trying to get to the playoffs and do something here, him throwing 22 to 24 times today, you can still get Devonta Smith to get there, but it's much less likely. So I lean to run Gardner Minshew naked. I'm going to be deciding over this final hour after the stream if Devonta Smith is worth a play over the Elijah Mitchell, James Conner. That'll probably be my final decision today. Is Elijah Mitchell, James Conner a better play with one of those guys than Devonta Smith today if you're playing Gardner Minshew? That is a, if you follow that, it's a lot, but it's interesting. For a small field contest, do you prefer running Tua naked with Cook at tight end or Minshew with Goddard? I'll go Minshew with Goddard, although I'd rather just go Minshew. And if you're playing in a small field contest, you don't got to be trying to run Minshew and Goddard and all that. Thoughts on Kyler Murray's return? Yeah, I like Kyler. I think it helps James Conner the most. He still doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins. AJ Green's been doing nothing. Rondale Moore is just basically a man who stays at the line of scrimmage. So Kyler Murray, who I don't think will be a full go today, and he's expensive. It's hard to get to him in DFS. I think it helps James Conner the most. Okay, to stack Eckler with Herbert? Sure. Yes, I am. Mooney or Claypool? I'll go Claypool. Is there anyone you would stack with Minshew? Devonta Smith, that's it. Damn, bro, you moved up in the world. Congrats, says Frank Costa. Did I? I don't know what that means, Frank. Because I got the new candle. Is that what it was? You talking about the new candle, Frank? My man, Frank, you talking about that new candle we got there? Metcalf or Chase if you had to choose? I'll go Chase. What's the Minshew projection? Like 17 to 18 fantasy points. That's a median projection. What's your candle scent? I got this I forgot I had this. So I bought like 2 or 3 of these candles at Trader Joe's like early October. So it's vanilla pumpkin. So it's like, pumpkin season. But I forgot I had it. I had it in my little cabinet over there. But yeah, I got a Christmas tree one out there and a Christmas cookie one out there too. We got the candles on lock. Hopkins slept on at 6,200. He would be slept on if he wasn't going to be limited today. So, I mean, yeah, maybe he slept on. I just prefer in that range Devonta Smith and DK Metcalf, right? Personally. Hey, Sal, Mooney or Henderson, 1 point PPR, thanks in advance. Darrell Henderson is not expected to play today, so Mooney. Best play under $4,700 is Sony Michel today. It's probably not close. Can you play Miles Sanders and Minshew in really small field contests? Yes, that's about it. Any love for Evans? Not really. Love to show your content and personality. Fun and all New York-ish. Hey, I appreciate that, Tommy. What's going on, my man? Hopefully you're having a lovely day. Claypool or Metcalf. A little bit of a price difference there. So I mean, I'm gonna say Metcalf, but there's $700 difference in price difference there. So I would say I actually got to put Metcalf on here as a yes. Because I didn't realize how low Metcalf was in his ownership until right before the stream. Like, I thought Metcalf was going to be, like 8 or 10% owned today. He's 4% owned, and I understand why. So that makes Metcalf a yes. As you can see, the rest of my yeses at wide receiver on the page. $2 super chat from my man Gerald. James Conner and 150 max thoughts. Yeah, it's fine. James Conner's fine. He'll be like 18% owned. He projects out nicely. He's fine. Yep. Yeah, he's completely fine. Is Hopkins in play today? I'm just not playing him personally. He's a very fair price point, but it's a hamstring injury that he's not over. That's a concern. Like, I mean, Hopkins came back from this hamstring injury and re-injured it. The first game back, he re-injured it. And then he put himself back into the game and re-injured it, right? So this is a lingering hamstring injury, and they're saying that he might be on a snap count. So it's still not 100% healthy. I used to check out your basketball stuff when you first started. Figured I'd check in on you, and you have over 1,000 people in here. Good stuff, brother. I appreciate that, Frank. Thanks. Yeah. A lot of people have been asking me about basketball. We'll see. I'm considering just going full-time into NFL, football in general, content, and golf to start the first contest of next year. We might be doing golf. I'm considering that. I mean, I still have all the tools for NBA, but content-wise, golf's easier to manage, and I think there's a lot more upside there, and I obviously like it. Sal, you got any pets? Could see you going on a run with a dog. I'd love to go on a run with a dog. I don't have any pets right now. Considering if we remain in Austin for at least another year, if we re-up the lease, the other option is to move to New York where my family and friends are for the year. But the more and more I stay in Austin, the warm weather, meet people more often, go to ugly sweater parties, meet some cool people, the smaller and smaller the percentage chance comes to move back to the Northeast. Ideally, I would like to get like an apartment or office space there so I can go there more often. That's definitely a big goal of mine for next year. But we don't want to do it yet because if we move to New York, having like a 2x4 apartment with a dog doesn't seem great. I really want your Patreon. I think it sounds like way more tools. There are a lot of tools on Patreon. I'm continuously trying to add more. Like a betting tool is probably going to come next year for player props. It's hard to bring in right away. Maybe test it out for the postseason. Kind of running the beta stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of tools. Cole Beasley or Devontae Parker, Claypool or Mooney. I'll go Claypool and I'll go Beasley. Do you like O'Shaughnessy pivot off of Mareu chalk? Yeah, I think so. Sal, what are your favorite price picks, underdog picks, other than the one we just made with Kittle and Sanders? Yeah, so I took a lot during the streams this week. I like Jamar Chase and Cooper Kupp's overs in receiving yards a lot. Those are probably my two other favorites. So Cooper Kupp over 88.5 receiving yards on prize picks. Jamar Chase over 59.5. Use the code SAL for a free bet up to $100. I don't know if I think I have. I do think that I have some pick'em. I haven't taken any pick'ems yet. So what was I waiting for? Was it the Claypool stuff? I think I was waiting for Claypool's receiving yards. 56.5 is a good number. So let's see if we can take a community prop on prize picks now. Do they have a Minshew number yet? Oh my God. 216 passing yards is a fucking lot for Gardner Minshew. I mean, if I took that, it would be strictly out of love for the man. So I'll pair Claypool with something. Oh yeah, yes, please. Yep, that's it. Myles Gaskin under 56.5 rushing yards behind the worst offensive line as they get more and more running backs involved behind him, and as he continues to find holes because he's an undersized back that has no good vision, right? A late round pick. He's good in the receiving game. That's about it. We'll take the 56.5 overs. I have Claypool in the 70s, like 75 receiving yards. I have Myles Gaskin for about 46 rushing yards, so we'll put 50 on that. And there's your underdog. So now we have an underdog community prop. Spread the wealth. There you go. And the community prop. I mean, these are my two favorite props on Prize Picks, but we already took them. So if we had to add another one, these fantasy points I have significantly over. Thanks, Sal. No problem. Easy play, I think Devontae Parker is. Yeah, $3,900 is a fair price point for Devontae Parker. Yeah, I like him. I remember Galaxy backer on green screen Sal. The come up over the last year is insanity. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, we're gonna be hoping to do more and more. Every NFL offseason, there's more and more that I can do. I would like to get some guest spots on some of these other top networks and podcasts. It's a little bit difficult as being a one-man band here without like an agent or a backing, but I might start sending some emails out to like the fantasy pros of the world and those guys, trying to give them a nice little guest, fill their guest spots and leech off of their audience a little bit. Give Salvatore Like You Filthy Animals the Mixon ownership. I have Mixon projecting out right now. I appreciate that, by the way. Thank you for the little like plug. Mixon projecting out for 12% ownership by the field. Higgins or Renfro, I'll take Hunter Renfro. I live in New Hampshire. We can do everything gambling, but parlaying player props so mad I can't play prize picks. Damn, my man. We hate that, Justin. We hate to hear that. Brady stack with Gronk, Godwin run back with Patterson. Yeah, Matt, that's just not something I'm on. Everything you just said is fine. It's like larger fields for me today. The way that this slate breaks down, I'm not getting to a lot of Tampa. Jonathan Watkins in the chat says, you going to do it. What's up, boss man? How you doing? Can you skinny stack Allen and Chase? Definitely. That is a very good skinny stack. I think the only skinny stack I like more than Allen and Chase is Chase and Eckler from that game. But Allen and Chase obviously is cheaper. It's easier to get to. I secretly think I want more 3 p.m. players. No idea why I ever feel that way. Not really. I mean, it depends on like what games are in the afternoon, but not really. Juwan Jennings or Devontae Parker? Devontae Parker for sure. Way better of an athlete. Better offense for him to be playing in. Tua is completing so many passes on these quick game RPOs. Yeah. The top single entry quarterbacks today. Yeah, the top single entry quarterbacks today are going to be really dependent on what lineup construction you personally like today. I think the top single entry quarterbacks, I think there's 3 top single entry quarterbacks: Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert, and Gardner Minshew today. I think those are the 3 best single entry quarterbacks. If you twisted my arm to pick a 4th, I'd say Tom Brady. But I think Stafford, Herbert, and Minshew are the 3 best single entry quarterbacks. Clearly a wide difference in the pricing between Minshew and the other 2, which depends on what lineup construction do you like today. Sal, I think this, but bro, you the damn GOAT. The GOAT. The DFS live stream content GOAT. I appreciate that. Too kind. Does Waddle keep the workload over Parker? That's something that we're about to find out, my man. I know as much as you. All I know is that Jalen Waddle's price point is indicated of what he has done the last month to month and a half without Devontae Parker. So Jalen Waddle inherently to me today is overpriced. Devontae Parker is without a doubt underpriced. So I don't know what the actual results will be today, but if we're talking about DraftKings and their price points, Devontae Parker is the better play, yes. Because the fact that Devontae Parker can easily become the wide receiver 1 today for Tua, right? Nobody's shocked if that happens, and he's $3,000 less than Waddle. Yeah, he's the better play. I've watched you since the beginning of the year. Just joined your Patreon, says Americano Vado. Hey, welcome into the family. Welcome home to you. If you're not a Patreon member yet, you are in December. You are in the Christmas season. The final month of the season before the NFL playoffs. Get your tools ready, put them in your toolbox, and get up in there on Patreon. I mean, what's we doing here if we're not? Right? Anyone must start in single entry GPPs? The closest thing to like a must start is probably $4,300 Sony Michel as a 13-point favorite as the only running back who will be involved with no Darrell Henderson and a 30 and a half implied team total. Sal, you take any spreads this week? No, I have not. No. Sal, thanks for all the info. Goddard or Smith today? I'll take Devonta Smith if I'm choosing. You're taking Cole Beasley over Devontae Parker. Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me a season-long question, Cole Beasley or Devontae Parker, yeah. If you're asking me like a season-long question or if that's like a full slate, I don't know the price points for the full slate, but yes. Favorite GPP quarterback today? It'll either be it's between Stafford, Herbert, and Minshew. If you had to choose one, who would you stack? Chargers with Mixon run back or stack Bengals with Eckler run back? Eckler run back. Any pivot from Parker near 3,900? Just Deshaun Jackson at 4,200. Great job, Sal, on the research today and Sunday Morning Podcast. Loyal Patreon. We appreciate you, Bill K. Yeah, I mean, Devontae Parker, the only pivots are to, number 1, Sony Michel in that range across positions. Otherwise, Deshaun Jackson. Sal, what's your top 3 cheap receiver picks? What are we saying by cheap receiver here? Like, what is the cutoff? If the cutoff is $6,000, Hunter Renfro, Devontae Parker, and like Odell, T. Higgins. If it's $3,000 and below, it's really just Devontae Parker. I'm not playing cheap receivers, by the way, today. Like in my single entry, I don't think you have to do that. There's so many cheap tight ends, quarterbacks, and running backs that the last thing you want to be doing is playing chalky, cheap wide receivers. And they have no security to them at all. They have no security to their touches, especially if their quarterbacks aren't good, which most of the time is true. That's why they're cheap. So yeah, I don't really like the cheap receivers today. That's including Devontae Parker. I nerfed kind of what I have of him in 150s. I got like 15% now, but in single entry, he's not really an interest of mine. Solid play though, projection-wise, but when there's just way better, like Sony Michel is a miles better play today than Devontae Parker. So, yeah. Mixon or Madison? I'll take Matterson. The ownership will be pretty comparable. How much Gibson is too much? Yeah, I'm not really big on Gibson today. In 150s, I'll have probably about 25% just because you're going to get a lot of running backs today in 150s. I think people are over-expecting Mixon's role. They play so slow. Washington purposely wants to slow the game down. They run the ball, and they take every second off the clock. So the upside there for more possessions is not going to be in play. And then why are you playing Gibson today as opposed to most weeks? Because he went off on Monday Night Football, and he's like he should be $6,200 instead of $5,700 today, right? Gibson is going to be like 25% owned. People think that he's going to take on the J.D. McKissic role. Maybe, right? But at the highest ownership number, when the head coach literally came out and said Wendell Smallwood will be the J.D. McKissic running back today, and then Wendell Smallwood gets activated to the active roster. So apparently Mixon isn't getting that, or Gibson isn't getting the passing game work. But even if you believe that he is, the head coach said he isn't, and he's highly owned. So this is just like the upside game, right? Once a guy becomes 25% owned, if not more, in a lot of contests like Antonio Gibson today, and not much is expected to change on his role, and the only reason people are playing him is because he went off in primetime the last time they saw him, and he's like $500 underpriced, you can play those plays. You have to play somewhere around 3 or 4 today because there's so many chalk guys, like 2 or 3 20% owned guys. I personally am opting to play the good players there. The Cooper Kupp, that's 20% owned, I'll play. The Alexander Madison, who's probably the overall most secure running back play on the slate when you factor in everything. I'll play that at 20% owned. I don't even think he'll be 20% owned. But I'm good to get away from like the Jamal Williams, the Gibsons that are 20% owned. I'm playing them in 150s because I can leverage the field. But in one lineup, single entries, I'm good to get away from the Gibsons and Jamal Williams, who have serious questions about not only their role, their team totals, their game environments, and then their ownership aside. I still wonder how much Wendell Smallwood will play, given he just got added to the roster, was on the Panthers before, though, so knows the offense at least. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, it doesn't even matter how much the dude's going to play. Like, we don't have that information until after lock, so it's not going to matter, right? We have to take the information we have right now. The head coach said Wendell Smallwood is going to play the McKissic role, and still the ownership on Gibson is high. For me, I could say, you know what, maybe the head coach is just spewing a little bit of bullshit. If Gibson was 12% owned, I can say that. But when he's already highly owned, which is a risk, it's a negative leverage. It's not a good leverage play when he's highly owned. And now there's a potential that his head coach is saying he's not even going to get the passing game work. It's like, okay, why do I got to go here? There's way too many red flags compared to the other 20 good running back plays in the slate today. Who are the punt tight ends? James O'Shaughnessy, Foster Moreau, and to an extent, Brevin Jordan. Any interest in Metcalf today? Squeaky wheel narrative? Yes, I like Metcalf a lot. Metcalf is on that short list of great leverage plays that I see as awesome today. George Kittle, Chase Claypool, Jamar Chase, Miles Sanders, DK Metcalf. I like him a lot. Loving your channel. I got to get on your Patreon, says Earl Bauer. Hey, Earl, come on in. Come on into the family. There's your link right there in the chat. Parker or Deshaun Jackson for cash? Definitely Parker for cash. Deshaun Jackson is like the hit or miss play, right? You know how he's going to win you a slate. He's going to have a 50 to 60-yard reception, maybe goes for a touchdown. Whereas Parker is going to see that volume, 7 targets in every game this year, 20% target share, alpha receiver on the outside, red zone role. So definitely Parker for you. I appreciate the $5 super chat. Will Parker be over 12% owned? I think so, yeah. I think Parker's going to be right around 15% owned, if not more, depending on how big your contest is. Eli Mitchell ownership projection. I think Mitchell and Connor both push around 16% projected ownership, which makes it even more difficult to figure out which one I want to play. My final decision today, if I go Gardner Minshew in single entry, I'm not sure yet, but my final decision, if I do, is going to be, do I want to stack him with Devonta Smith or say, fuck it, I was never stacking Devonta Smith anyways, and play an Elijah Mitchell or a James Conner today. That's kind of my final decision. There's question marks on all of them, of course. Devonta Smith, does he see the volume? They never pass the ball. James Conner, Kyler's back. Red zone role not as secure. Elijah Mitchell, not as many questions on him, but, I mean, the question becomes, the passing game role isn't there if they're up on Seattle. Does the dude get the touchdowns? Because 24 carries for 110 yards is cute, but does he get the touchdowns, right? Patterson or Fournette? I'll take Fournette. Kyler or Heineke? I mean, season-long Kyler, yeah. Thoughts on Josh Reynolds? I'm not about it. I mean, Josh Reynolds was not all that much involved. He caught a touchdown. He caught a touchdown on a somewhat busted coverage, right? So against a terrible defense, by the way, against the Bears' terrible defense. So I get it if you're trying to punt wide receiver. You don't have to punt wide receiver this week. That's the thing. There's 30 running back plays on this slate that are good. I'm exaggerating somewhat. There are punt tight ends. There are punt wide receivers. I see no reason in punting wide receivers. And if you're going to punt wide receivers, just go to the good wide receiver in Devontae Parker, who might be his team's number one receiver and alpha today. Like Josh Reynolds, I get it. Everybody saw him score in prime time. But if you see all the other underlying stats on that, first of all, it's Jared Goff in the Lions offense, terrible. Like, other than that touchdown, the man had in that game 2 receptions for 30 yards on 4 targets. Like, there's just not much volume there. The best quarterback for 20 max today, either Herbert. For 20 max, I'll say either Herbert or Stafford. How much Brady do you have today? I've got 7% Brady. Can you run Winston? Can you run Minshew naked today? You definitely can. Single entry Minshew or Burrow? I'll lean Minshew there. Minshew or Josh Allen on ESPN Fantasy? Josh Allen for sure. Not even a question. Sal, are there any games you're avoiding because of weather? As of right now, I don't think so. I don't think any of the Vegas totals have crashed, but we can look right now. Let's pull it up onto the screen for the beautiful people out there in the streets. Beautiful people in the streets, 1,000+ people that are watching. If you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, if you take 2 seconds to subscribe, it greatly helps the channel grow. We're very close to hitting 45,000 subscribers. If we could somehow hit that on this live stream, I don't know if we have enough soldiers in the arsenal. We're about 100 subscribers away from 45,000. That'd be pretty cool to hit today. So let's see. Let's see the biggest difference in the lines. So there is a 7-point difference in this Vegas. So this is definitely due to the weather, but that's a night game. So there's a 5.5-point difference because Daniel Jones is out. I don't think that has to do as much with weather. A 4-point difference in that game. That game's already over. There's been a 3.5-point difference in this game. So there might be weather in Chicago that's pulling this down. So I don't really have interest in that game anyways. Houston, there's no weather. So, yeah, I mean, there's not really any weather that's concerning me for this slate. Maybe that Chicago-Arizona game is pulling on some bad weather. Sal, would you flex Mooney over Gibson in a PPR league? I would play Gibson there in a PPR league. $10 super chat for a smaller tournament, 200 people. Is Lamar Jackson, Brown, Andrews stack on DK a little crazy? Yes, it is to me. Maybe Pitt bounces back at home. No, that's too crazy for me. Lamar Jackson's extremely expensive. Brown's target share is cratered since Rashad Bateman's been there, and Devin Duvernay's been more involved. And Andrews is the most expensive tight end without seeing that type of usage. So, yeah, that's a little bit crazy to me. Thoughts on Saquon? 6,300 has fine ownership. It's a difficult choice. I mean, his projection looks good, 18 points. For me, it's a difficult choice today between Saquon and some of these other dudes out there. The other dudes being Elijah Mitchell and James Conner. Right now, if I really had to pull the trigger on it, I would probably rank it James Conner, Elijah Mitchell, Saquon in that order. I mean, Saquon's offensive line still stinks. Their red zone presence with Mike Glennon doesn't feel great, whereas James Conner's and Elijah Mitchell's red zone presence feels good, and James Conner, I think, has a more built-in receiving game role than Elijah Mitchell, especially if the 49ers take a lead. So if gun to my head I had to choose, I'd probably go James Conner over Elijah Mitchell and Saquon today, but they're all so damn close, and it kind of depends on, like, are you skinny stacking? Because if you have DK Metcalf in your lineup, I do kind of like the skinny stack of Elijah Mitchell gets out and head. He's got a nice game going. They got to play from behind. DK Metcalf's target share correlates with that. So I think that is interesting to say the least. But yes. Yes. That's probably going to be my biggest decision today. Devonta Smith in stacks with Minshew or one of those running backs. What do you guys think? What do the beautiful people of the YouTube comment section believe today? The 1,100 people watching this. Would you stack Gardner Minshew with Devonta Smith today for the $6,000 play Devonta Smith? Or would you say run Gardner Minshew naked today and play Connor, Mitchell? Let's run a poll. Let's run a poll on Twitter. Who you got? Question mark. Let's run this poll. Here we go, beautiful people. Do you like Jamal Williams? I have a lot of Jamal Williams in 150s. I think he is one of the number one plays I want to pivot off of in single entry small field stuff. Who you got? Let's run this poll. Let's run this poll today. Somebody give me these price tags. $6,100 Devonta Smith. Mitchell, $6,000, right? Oh no. What just happened? Whoops. What the fuck's going on here? All right. Add option. There we go. Don't play Minshew, somebody says. Yeah, I mean, I'm not playing Minshew in 150s with all that much exposure. Minshew is going to be the play that you want to play in smaller field single entries because of the price tag specifically. So let's go. Devonta, 6,100. Mitchell, 6,000. Connor, 5,900. Saquon, 6,300. I think I got those right. Who you got? Let's see how that goes. Let's see what the beautiful people of Twitter see about this. No stack, run him naked. Ooh, people want to get naked today with him. All right, mullet naked. He gonna spray and play. Yeah, I think running Gardner Minshew naked is the correct answer based on how much that they throw the ball and you're hoping that he runs. Yeah, I think that is likely the correct answer, and then it comes down to Connor versus Mitchell. We'll see what people say here. Interesting. We don't got many votes. This is a fun slate. This is the most excited I've been for a DFS slate in quite some time. I mean, the Thanksgiving slate, naturally excited because it's the holiday, but like a main slate. The reason being is that it's not the cookie cutter. All right, we play 25% Josh Allen, 25% Brady, 20% Stafford. Like, those are fine. You still find your leverage. We've had much success, especially for like a 3 or 4 week stretch earlier in the year when every week it was those dudes popping off. But this is a fun one. This is do you have the emotional, maybe not intelligence is the word, that's a totally different thing, emotional intelligence, but do you have the emotional capabilities? I don't know. Do you have the ability to, when you're building your lineup today and it looks like dog shit but projects out pretty nice, do you have the ability to look at it and go, yeah, I'm not going to put in the 35% owned in some contest Jamal Williams. Yeah, I'm not going to put in the 30% owned Antonio Gibson, right? Like, do you have that ability to say, you know what, I'm going to play the 5% owned leverage play today, right? Most of the weeks people don't, and that's why those guys are low owned. When really the secret to winning DFS is to beat your opponents, not to score the most points. Scoring the most points is fun, but to beat your opponents. And how do you beat your opponents? You play players that they are too scared to play. Too scared to play even though those players look good. Miles Sanders has one less fantasy point projection for me today than Antonio Gibson, and Antonio Gibson is going to be 20% higher owned in a worse matchup with a worse team total. Shrug emoji. Jennings as a punt play, Seattle and San Francisco shootout. Yeah, I'm not there. I don't got a punt there. Sal, I know you were talking about running Minshew naked. Pause. Would you still use value of Sanders or no? In really small field stuff, I think you can get away with Sanders and Minshew because of the matchup, the total and all that. Otherwise, I can go somewhere else. My lineup on paper looks unbeatable, but we know how that usually ends up, but can't change it. Alrighty. The mental capacity. Yeah, is that even right? Yeah. Wonder how much ownership will catch up to Sony. Yeah, I think Sony's going to continue to get steam with ownership because of videos like this and other shows that you're watching and just in general people seeing the news. It won't be nearly enough. It won't be nearly enough today. Sony Michel will never be as highly owned as he should be today. It's just as simple as that. Sony Michel today can come in with 20% ownership at the end of a lock, and he will not be as highly owned as he should be. Sony Michel at that price point should be 35 to 40% owned today, and it won't happen. It won't happen today. The New York runbacks options choice, really just Saquon, Evan Ingram to an extent, but Saquon's like your only runback. And Dory Jackson for the Giants is out. Is Montgomery a must start today? Why is David Montgomery? No, I have 25% in 150s, but not much anywhere else. With Dallas Goedert. Alrighty, gang. All right, Sal, I'm out. Time to eat. Let's crush it. All right, guys. The slate starts in an hour and 20 minutes. I'm about to bounce. I appreciate you a ton. Thank you for tuning in today. If you have not yet already, hit the subscribe button. It helps the channel out a lot. Later today, I will be drawing the one person who wins the $100 each week. Somebody who has reviewed the podcast from out the last week is going to win $100. RateThisPodcast.com/Sal. You can get your last chance if you leave a review and a rating. Just leave a way for me to contact you, Twitter, a PayPal, whatever it might be. If you were the one that's drawn today, there it is. Have an amazing day, says my mother. My mother, have an amazing day to you as well. So there you go. Chicago weather, it's raining today. That's why, the total drop. Yep. Huge help in making this my most profitable DFS year. We love to hear it. So there you go. RateThisPodcast.com. You leave a rating and a review there for a chance to win $100 each week. I'm going to draw that tonight and contact the person. I tried to set it up to draw it on the live stream, but there was like 80 people who did it, and I was having to manually enter each one into the wheel, and I did not set enough time for that to do a random wheel, so I'm going to have to do that later. I could probably try and copy in something with Excel. I'll have to figure it out to make it easier. But thank you for tuning in today. The prop of the days that we have taken for the show, this is on Underdog. Chase Claypool over 56.5 receiving yards, under on Myles Gaskin, 56.5 rushing yards, 56.5 are running wild. And then this is the one we took on the stream today. Miles Sanders over 11 fantasy points, more receiving game upside without Jalen Hurts, by the way, as well. Over Kittle, the best leverage play at tight end today, 12.5 fantasy points. If you use the code SAL on either site, this is prizepicks.com. This one is underdog.com, underdogfantasy.com. Code SAL on either site will get you a free, F-R-E-E, free bet up to $100. We call them dollar-rooskies here. You call them dollar bills. You call them pesos, wherever you are. The free dineros up to $100 rooskies for all you beautiful people out there. So try those out. I appreciate you tuning in. I'll see you when I see you, gang, and I'll see you in the next one. The slate starts in an hour and 20 minutes. The most excited I've been for a slate all year outside of like week 1, week 2, because that's just naturally to get excited about. Thank you to all the people who donated today. Appreciate you a ton. You got to give the tight end page real quick. I mean, we gave the tight end page all week long. There it is. Yes, Miles Sanders, he hasn't had a good game in over 5. Why Miles Sanders? He hasn't had a good week in over 5 weeks. I mean, Miles Sanders has only played 2 weeks, by the way. Miles Sanders 3 games ago got hurt. 2 games ago was coming back in a limited fashion. And last week he got hurt at halftime. So Miles Sanders hasn't played an actual game since they have gone to a run-heavy approach all season long. So nothing on Miles Sanders this season should impact you for this week. Nothing. He got hurt at halftime last week. The week before that, they purposely limited him to 40% of the snaps. And then a month before that was his previous game when he got hurt in the game. And that's when they were throwing a lot and not on this new identity to run the ball behind one of the best run-blocking offensive lines in the league. So Miles Sanders, nothing that Miles Sanders has done this year holds any weight for me today. He's been hurt in 2 out of his last 3 games, and he has not played a full-time role in any of them. Today should change that. So thank you. I appreciate you all a ton. Big thanks to Sal. You made my top 5 podcast on Spotify this year. Hey, shout out to you, my man. I appreciate you. Nice. That's awesome to hear. Peace out, everybody. I'll see you in the next one. Tomorrow morning, Monday Night Football video, and then tomorrow night, Monday Night Football live stream. We'll be right back here talking to you all live. Action. So when you have the emotional capacity is the word we decided on, to say, you know what, Jamal Williams, older man at 20+% ownership, why not go to the younger, more exciting backs at 5% ownership, Miles Sanders, those types of plays, right? When you can see from a mile away that DK Metcalf, a 99 percentile speed, size specimen, not only in his body, but in his pants, when that man today is going to be 4% owned, with a good quarterback who's starting to play better in Russell Wilson, when you can get on these types of plays, doesn't have to be them specifically, but the leverage plays, right? When you're leveraging it, all right? A lever and a pulley, the gravity. You leverage your lineups that way. You score more points than the opponents. Not the most points, but more points than your opponents today, and you win the dollar rooskies. And they say, where did you get those dollar rooskies for week 13? The best slate of the entire year is this week right now. It is by far the best slate of the year. The amount of leverage plays that are there because of so much value that people are jumping onto. Let the people play Jamal Williams. Let the people play Antonio Gibson. Let the people play these guys. And you come out with you, all right, counting the paper, counting the cheddar, and they say, where did you get that today? You take a second. You take a sip in a second, cold coffee. What are you going to do? Huh? Oh, these bad boys? Oh, I got these, right? Put the money in the hat. I got these because I know football. Hey, and football knows me. When you win today, enjoy yourself a little bit. Spend some dollar rooskies on the brewskis. If that's not your thing, drink some water, right? Tell your mother, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle to have a lovely day. Tell yourself, whatever you are today, whoever you're hanging out with, your left hand, whatever it might be. And I'll see you all when I see you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, gang. Man, that boy kind of crazy. I mean, that boy kind of crazy. Oh, my God. That boy kind